Hello there, duelists. Ever feel like a leaf in the wind? Floating around trying to remember your combo lines? Well, today we have that wind as a deck, with Yosenju on the playmat. Released in 2015 in Secret Forces and entirely overlooked due to the power of the meta-warping Necros, which were released alongside it. Yosenjus are a control deck focused on multi-normal summoning, something that is cropping up again in Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently. Yosenju have had kind of gusts of support, but never really been taken to the competitive scene. So, is it a feeble breeze? Let's find out. Okay, so let's meet the wind. So we've got 3 Yosenju Kama 1. Try and make this so that we get in the middle. I've got 3 Yosenju Kama 2, and we've got 3 Yosenju Kama 3. So, all of these have got a very similar effect in that once they're normal summoned, immediately after the effect resolves, you can normal summon another Yosenju monster except itself. They've also got effects kind of based on being on field, so Kama 1, if you control another Yosenju monster, you can target a monster on your opponent's side of the field and bounce it back to the hand. Kama 2 can attack directly, but any battle damage inflicted is halved. And Kama 3, if another Yosenju monster inflicts battle damage, you can add a Yosenju card from your deck to your hand. And all of the Yosenju monsters share an effect, apart from the pendulum ones, where when they're during the end phase, they bounce back a bit like spirit monsters. So from there, we've got another 3 of, which is Yosenju Izna, which I feel like I'm really going to butcher these names. And then finally we've got a couple of one-offs. So we've got Yosenju Tsujik and Yosenju Shinchu L. So I think Shinchu L probably isn't run in most builds, but I quite like having the ability to have a face-up Yosenju monster or Yosenju card during my opponent's turn, because that comes up with, well, one of the traps. You could play more of it, and I think in the past I have done. Also, if a Yosenju monster would be destroyed, you can send it. You can destroy the pendulum monster instead. Tsujik is a one-of. It can't do the normal summon effects, same as Izna, so it's the end of kind of a normal summoning chain. And you can either discard it from your hand to increase the attack of a battling Yosenju monster by 1,000, or when it's on the field, you can increase the attack of a Yosenju monster by 1,000. It also bounces like Izna as well, so during the end phase, it comes back to your hand. So Izna, you can discard it, and your opponent can't respond to the activated effects of your monsters whenever they're normal or special summon, which is quite nice because it means that they can't affect failure on the normal summon of your Yosenju monster or whatever it is. And then when it's on field, if you control another Yosenju monster, you can draw a card, which kind of gets you kind of a draw engine, I suppose, going. From there, we're playing a few hand traps. So we're playing 3 Nibiru, the Primal being. So this is, we kind of want to stop our opponent from, kind of making any sort of negation board or anything like that, and Nibiru is a great way of doing it. The token isn't really a problem because Kama 1, nailed it, or Kama 1, so I say, can bounce it back, so it gets rid of the token. It's just a great way, and we are not going to have anything on field in order to, get disrupted by Nibiru, our own Nibiru. And then we're playing 3 PSY-Framegear Gamma, so we want to stop our opponent getting off, alongside the driver, should I say. We want to stop our opponent getting off, and this is a great way of effect negation, and it clears the monster off the board as well, so it's just a really good hand trap. Okay, so let's meet the support. So we're playing 3 Pot of Extravagance. We're not really diving into the extra deck very often, and when we are, we don't really need any of the cards, or a lot of the cards to like combo off or anything like that, so this is a great way of getting resources. What I would say is that it is expensive, obviously, so you can substitute it with Pot of Desires, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same. We're playing 3 Pot of Duality. The special summon restriction doesn't really affect us at all, and it doesn't conflict with Extravagance either, so it's just another good way of kind of digging for solutions. From there, I'm playing 2 Yosen Training Ground. It's not a great card, but we lost the Tenki because Tri-Brigade are too good. So we've got this kind of instead. Each time a Yosenju monster is normal, special summon, place a Yosenju counter on it. You can remove any to activate one of the effects, and you can only activate it once per turn. So unfortunately, with 2 Yosenju Training Grounds, you can't do it twice. But if you remove one counter, all Yosenju monsters gain 300 attack until the end of the turn. And then if you if you remove 3, then you can add 1 Yosenju card from your deck or your graveyard to your hand, which is kind of the effect I'm going for. So the idea being that you play this, you normal summon 3 monsters, and then you get your card resource, which doesn't always happen, but I think it's worth a test at least. The 1 Tenki, you know, just for the search, rip Tenki. And then we've got a bunch of one-offs. So we've got Dimensional Fissure. We just need to slow our opponent down. This is a great way of doing it. Got 1 Called by the Grave, kind of hand trap, you know, disruption. That first normal summon is pretty crucial. So if that gets disrupted, then you can be in real trouble. The Upstart Goblin, which can conflict a little bit with the Pot of Extravagance, but I don't think it doesn't come up that often, but yeah, it's easily a flex spot. And then finally, the Double or Nothing to kind of try and close out games that we'd never, you know, otherwise be able to do. And then onto the traps. So we've got some more hand trappiness. We've got 3 Infinite Impermanence, which, well, recently got a bit of a reprint, so hopefully it's not as expensive as it was before. Then we've got Macrocosmos, which, you know, is basically a better version, well, a slower but better version of Dimensional Fissure. You want to slow our opponent down, and we don't really care about the banish zone at all because we're bouncing back to hand. And then we've got a couple of Yosenju traps. We've got Yosenju Sword Sting and Yosenju Secret Move. I think most people tend to just run the Sword Sting, but I actually like the Secret Move. So when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated while you control at least 1 Yosenju card, which Yosen Training Ground doesn't count as, which is why I'm kind of running that Pendulum monster. So negate the activation of, you know, of anything and destroy it basically. You can't have the Nibiru token on board, which is a little bit sad, but I think it's well worth the one-of, I think. You know, and it means that if you've set it and you go in, you know, the following turn, your opponent can't hand trap you or anything like that. I think it's just a great way of securing your following turn. Sword Sting's a bit more versatile, I would say. So if you control no monsters, reveal up to 2 Yosenju monsters with different names, and you can target the same number of cards your opponent, face-up cards your opponent controls, and bounce them back to hand. So it's just a great way of kind of keeping your opponent off game. Okay, so onto the extra deck, which I would say is probably the most, well, flexible or changeable part of the deck. You're playing an extravagance, you know, kind of extra deck, so take this with a pinch of salt or just play it to your own playstyle. We're running 1 Omega, so this, you know, if you manage to stop an opponent's hand trap on your turn, can be useful to kind of use those, you know, the Gamma and the Driver just to get a bit more extension. Then we're playing 2 Exton Knight, so this can be, you know, kind of your equalizer. Playing 2 Lightning Chidori, you know, so the spin, you know, is a great way of getting stuff off the board that, you know, can't be destroyed and stuff like that. Then I'm playing quite a reasonably sized Utopia package. So 2 Utopia, 2 Utopia double. This is just a way of kind of stealing games, you know, and immediately getting that win where your opponent just doesn't expect it. Then we're playing a few one-offs, so playing 1 Utopia Prime. Sometimes it's just useful to kind of get that extra material underneath the Utopia. 1 Utopia Lightning, you know, just to kind of beat over stuff and stop kind of the battle effects. 1 Abyss Dweller, which can kind of lock down, you know, graveyard things, which a lot of the meta actually relies on now. 1 Tornado Dragon to deal with kind of like back row. 1 Heartland Draco, so this can detach to attack directly, and then 1 Zeus in order to kind of go on the top of either a Utopia that's attacked or the Heartland Draco if you can't manage to, you know, attack successfully with a Utopia. So, concluding, unfortunately Yosenjus weren't a meta-defining deck on arrival, and not much has changed. But they haven't aged quite as badly as some other 6-year-old decks, so I suppose that's, well, on balance, not bad. The real issue is effect negation on that first summon, which renders any other monsters completely useless. And a £150 playset of cross-out designators would definitely help that, but is Yosenju really worth piling that sort of cash into? So it's sadly a 2 for the relevance. The deck is okay to play. I find that the inherent need to slow down the game doesn't really fit very well with my style of play. So it's again a 2 for the fun factor. The deck core is, you know, pretty cheap. However, the life support of the kind of newer, more expensive generic cards really adds to the price. I've estimated this at $360, which was a bit of a surprise to me from TCG Player. And I just don't think at that price Yosenjus are really worth putting together. So, am I taking the wind out of Yosenju's sails, or are they just a bit of hot air? Let me know, and thanks for watching.